Hey y'all, I'm Jennifer, and today I'm going to show you how I made this acrylic heart charm that I got from Zindy.com. The pattern Floral Vinyl on the front is from them, and the glitter I used is from PDB, and I'm sealing everything with the UV resin. So when you get these acrylic blanks, there should be some paper on the front and back. Only remove one side of the paper and leave the paper on the other side so that way you don't get any scuff marks or any UV resin or epoxy on that side. Then I'm just going to take a sanding block and scuff it up just a little bit so that way my UV resin has something to adhere to, and then clean it up with some acetone or alcohol. I'm going to put my charm on some painter's tape just to make sure that it's nice and snug and it doesn't go anywhere. My UV resin is from Counterculture DIY. This is only the second project that I am making using UV resin, and so I'm not really sure how much to use just yet. Then I'm going to take my glitter and just cover the surface of the UV resin with my glitter. This is a chunkier glitter, and I feel like a fine glitter would probably work a little bit better. You wouldn't have to use as much UV resin. But I'm just going to mix it up, and then it's right about now that I'm realizing that I need more UV resin because my glitter is so chunky. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add some more. And I think that's the beauty of using UV resin. You don't have to mix anything. You can just pour it directly into your measuring cup and add more if you need it. And I absolutely love that. So I'm just gonna mix it up till it's all incorporated. And then I'm just gonna apply it to my blank. I use this little silicone brush thing that I got from Amazon. One side is kind of chunky and flat, that's that side. And I like to scoop up my glitter and UV resin mix with that, and then I'll use the other pointy side to kind of move the glitter around on a bigger charm or a bigger blank. The side I'm using right now would be better to use, but with these little tiny charms, I find the pointy side is easier to kind of move everything around. And then in that top left-hand corner, that's where the hole is for my hardware. And this pointy brush makes it really easy to spread everything right above where that hole is since it's so small. So just make sure that you get all of your mixture to the edge of your entire blank, because if you don't, when you cure it, you're going to see where your UV resin and your glitter stops and that your acrylic blank goes a little bit past that. And you want to make sure that it's even into the edge all the way around your acrylic blank. So I'm being really particular here and just making sure that I get it all the way around the charm. Then I'm just going to torch it with my kitchen torch. Make sure you don't do this too much, because if you do, you're going to heat up that resin and it may go over your edge, which is exactly what happened to me, and I didn't realize until after I cured it. So then I had to take my craft knife and clean up the edges, because at that point the resin was cured to my blank. And I mean, it was a little difficult, but it's still doable to clean up. Here I got a little bit of the UV resin inside of that hole, so I'm just taking my craft knife and I'm just turning it in a circular motion to make sure that I get any of that UV resin that got in that hole out. So now I am going to put it back on that painter's tape. I find when you do UV resin with the glitter, that layer may not be as shiny. It may have some bumps in it. So I'm just going to take my UV resin with no glitter and apply it directly to my blank and just move it around. Again, make sure it's going from edge to edge. And then I'm going to cure that. That'll give it a really smooth and shiny finishing layer on top of your glitter. But I have to emphasize, really make sure you get it from edge to edge, because you will be able to tell. And when I was doing this, I did find it kind of difficult to tell where it was, if it was all the way around the edge, just because there's no glitter to kind of see where you're pushing the glitter and UV resin. And basically what I did was just applied it and then went around the entire thing and made sure that I saw it going to the edge. Again, I'm going to torch it to get any bubbles out and cure it with my lamp. I believe on each layer, at least with the glitter layer, I did 120 seconds 3 times, and then just with the solid UV resin layer, I think I did 120 seconds 2 times, and it was fine. I will say, here I'm touching it with my finger with no glove to make sure it's not tacky. When I did it with a gloved finger, it didn't feel tacky, but it was. So I kind of suggest checking it with your bare finger with no glove. This is the point that I realized that my UV resin is all the way through that hole where my hardware is going to go. Like from each side, it is cured inside of the entire hole. So I had a time getting it out. Basically what I did was I used a very sharp craft knife right there and just bored a hole on each side until I basically got it all the way through. So that's what I'm doing here, is just trying to make that hole again. And once I was able to get a hole all the way through, even though it was really small, it was a lot easier to get it out. So this is liquid latex. I'm applying it to the side that has the glitter, and then I'm going to let it dry. Basically what this is going to do is add a protective layer over that glitter and UV resin. That way when I go to apply my vinyl and then a layer of UV resin on the other side, anything that may get on the glittered side isn't going to stick because I'm using that liquid latex. If I didn't put that on there and I got UV resin and cured it on the glitter side, it's on there, it's cured. You'd have to sand it and then re-layer it with UV resin. So I highly recommend this because the first project I did, that happened to me. Now I'm going to apply my floral design on the front. When you buy these blanks, it will come with I guess it's like an SVG file or a file that is the exact dimensions of the acrylic blank that you got. So I didn't have to size this or anything. It just came like this. It came in the right dimensions and size. I just cut it out with my Cricut with the vinyl that I wanted. I found putting the vinyl on my table and then placing this charm on top was a lot easier because it's so small than to try and place the vinyl on top of the charm. This is all personal preference. Do what works best for you, but I found this the easiest. I did have a little bit of overhang on my vinyl because I didn't get it perfectly straight on there, and that's okay. And basically how I cleaned that up was just, you'll see it, I just took my craft knife and ran it along the edges of my acrylic blank and just kind of tidied up the sides. Make sure that you put that on there really good so that way you don't have any bubbles or anything like that, and then just peel your transfer tape off. So now I'm going to take my craft knife and bore out that hole in my vinyl because you want to obviously make a hole where your hardware is going to go. So I'm taking my craft knife, putting it in the hole, making a little hole through my vinyl, and just doing circular motions again to make a hole in my vinyl now. And I'm going to just keep going until I get it the way I like it and clean up any little bit of vinyl that may be sticking up. Now we're going to work on the little bit of overhang that I have. You can see right there that I didn't place it perfectly straight, and that's okay. I'm just going to take my craft knife and basically just trim any excess that I have hanging over the edge with my craft knife. Be very careful because these craft knives are sharp. I figured that out the hard way. And I'm just going to keep turning it around and looking at it and just cleaning up the edges until I'm happy with it. Now we're going to apply some UV resin on top of our vinyl. Again, just taking it directly from the UV resin bottle, pouring a little bit on there. and making sure that we get coverage from edge to edge on this little tiny charm. Again, it's a little difficult because you can't see exactly where it's going, but just look at it from all angles. Make sure that you're pushing it, the UV resin, all the way to the edges and getting it above the hole where your hardware is going to go. If you need to add a little bit more like I'm doing right here, that's totally fine. Again, I feel like that's the beauty of UV resin. It doesn't need to be mixed. You can just add more if you need it. Now we're just going to use our kitchen torch again and pop any bubbles with the heat. Make sure you don't do this too much or it will make your UV resin thin and it could go over the edges. Again, I think I did 120 seconds 2 times, maybe 2 or 3 times. See what works for you. Everybody's wattage is different, so you may need more or less time. Here's that liquid latex that I'm peeling off. I find it so satisfying to peel it off. And it kept our glitter side really safe and secure from getting any debris or any UV resin cured on our backside. Okay, now it's time to add our hardware, and I quickly found out that I am not the greatest at this, but we're gonna roll with it. So I have no idea what these circular links are called, so we're gonna call them circular links. I also realized at this point that I did not open it up enough, so I need to make it a little bit wider to be able to put our charm on it. Maybe I should have used a larger circular link, but I just felt like our heart charm is so small and dainty, and I really wanted the hardware on it to be small and dainty as well. So that's why I'm using really small circular links. I'm just going to keep using my tools to close my circular links and make sure each end is up against the other, so that way our charm has no way to get out of our circular links. Everything's tight and secure and ready to go. Here's our heart charm all done. I think it came out so beautifully. The glitter on the back to the floral pattern on the front. It's just so pretty. This is a small, delicate piece that I think would be a great addition to any other keychain that you may have. And let's not forget about that tiny little adorable lobster clasp to connect it. It's just perfection. Thank y'all so much for watching my first ever YouTube video. Please like and comment below. And if you want to see more UV resin keychains from me, then subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank y'all so much for watching. Have a great day, y'all.